this piece is exactly about what you were just leading us into. Let's talk together, okay? Steal away precious time to the sun. Stop that. We were supposed to work together today. That's why. Because you're not the right bowl. I'm sorry. Yes, it's you. Okay. You say you haven't played a lot. All right, it's you're the star right now. Okay, there we go. That's better. All right. Steal away precious time to the silence. What to find, what to hear in the mystery. Open lines to my heart, reflect so to its truth, to its light, and the beauty. Can I truly know that's me? Can I hold to what I believe? Oh, this truth surpasses all I've seen and reveals the light to me. I'm free. Strands of light fill my eyes. I hear music. Words of soul touch my ears. I am singing. Harmonies full of life move within me. Take my soul body free to the heavens. I can truly know that's me. I can hold to what I believe, for this truth surpasses all I've seen and reveals the light to me. I'm free. I'm free. I'm free. So, that's what the sounds of freedom, that's what we're going to talk about today. So, because in truth, and the words in the song that came to me is, we are truly free in all moments. So we're going to talk more about this. So, all right. I'm going to turn this off so I don't double up on the mic here. Thank you all for having me. How are you today? How are we doing so far? Yeah. Well, I know that I'm just rather soaring right now being here with you all. Thank you. Okay. Freedom is an inside job. When I was asking, was told the topic for today was sounds of freedom. Of course, because we are We're in our country, we are celebrating the Declaration of Independence that was signed in by the Continental Congress on July 4th, 1776. And it announced the separation of the 13 North American colonies from the Great Britain, from the Crown. And they fought hard for that. They had an ideal. They had something within their vision. They had a vision of themselves, of how they wanted to live. I mean, this is what brought as many of them over anyway. And they said, we can do better. We can be better. And so the thing is, though, is we've learned about this in history classes. All of us have. But, when you're sitting around a barbecue and you're, shooting off fireworks and everything like this, I don't recall, do any of you recall having a real conversation about what this is about? That it was about freedom. Freedom that was fought hard for, and time and again that's happened. I mean, we've had world wars, we've had wars where we were fighting for others, fighting for freedom and liberty and justice for all, the liberty to be able to live the way you want to live, by the way you choose to live. We really don't talk about that at barbecues. I can remember that, to me, when I was a kid, it was all fireworks, and it still is all fireworks. So, and food, a lot of food. And so that got me thinking about, okay, where do we think about freedom? I think we wind up, what it is it's something that we fight against within ourselves. We have a battle at times within ourselves about freedom. When we start to look at our lives and we go, this is what I desired, but this is where it is. When we come up against a place in our minds are the ones that says, no, you can't have that. You should have, could have, would have. Why not? And that little mind whir that gets going within yourself that says, you let yourself down. You didn't do it. Come on, you were, as a teenager, you said you wanted freedom, and maybe we don't even realize that's the word that we're grasping for inside when we say we want something to be different. When we say, I want to change my life, or this, that, and the other, which we can. But when I'm wanting to look at here is that internal sounding that's going on within our head, that monkey mind, and being able to come home and free ourselves of that. And I always love to go to Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. So now Charles would sit down for 2 hours in the evening and forgive. He would go through his mind and he would be in forgiveness to another, or what happened to himself. I mean, think about that, 2 hours to go through every evening before he would retire and go to sleep. How often do we practice forgiveness? Some of us have gotten better at it. I mean, I think those of us that have been practitioners and then we practice, this way of thought and thinking and all, it is a thing that is, it's there. But have a consistency of being able to consciously grab hold of this mind of ours when it is on its own track of where it wants to go. That is the could have, the should have, didn't do. No, I don't want to. No, we're not going to enable dictation. And it's, where do we look? It's like our 4th of July. We have things that are an outside representation of freedom. But when that outside representation, it's the red, white, and blue, like I said, and all the fireworks and everything like that, how does that get inside you? Do you have an inside experience with that? So how do we get to that thing of freedom within ourselves, to have that consciousness of my mind, of I am being held, I'm being captive by my own thoughts, by my own belief systems. So that's what Charles would do. He would go into a place of forgiveness in the evening. And Myrtle, oh my goodness, Myrtle is wonderful. Myrtle would go into the silence. But before we go into what Myrtle did, it's, as I just said, it's an outside representation. How do we go into being an inside job? What is that inside job? And we have a couple of really wonderful examples of that inside job by Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, he was sentenced for life. He spent 27 years of a life sentence, isolated. They did not let him be out in with the regular community of prisoners. He spent 27 years in a cell. Now let's take a look at who that man was when he came out. What was he like? Do you remember seeing him? Do you remember hearing him? Do you remember feeling what he was like? He didn't allow his mind and his spirit to be imprisoned. He freed himself every day sitting in his cell. He visioned freedom. He envisioned himself being out of that cell. He knew the power of his mind and the power of his spirit to change the conditions of where he was and where he was in right then and there to what could be and what can be. Because we all know that we are powerful beings, spiritual beings having a human experience that we can manifest. And we're manifesting all the time. We just, trying to get a hold of this incredible brain and the thought system that goes through. That's our practice. It's a lifetime of practice. So we have Nelson Mandela was an example of how many others that we don't know of that were physically imprisoned and said, but I'm not, I'm free. You can take everything from me, but you can't take what I am and what I've got inside me. John McCain was another one, a Navy fighter pilot that was imprisoned in Vietnam for 5 years, tortured. But he came out of that. He came out of that in freedom. He was another example of, I am not going to allow you, his captors, to take away the power that he has within him. So this is why when Tim gave me the title of this week, of Sounds of Freedom, I was excited about sharing this because this is something that I've personally been walking through in my own life, in my own path recently of really watching my self-talk, or the little gremlin that has been talking, negatively talking to me, giving me reminders, what I could have done, what I didn't do, what I did do, on and on. It's back there in that subconscious mind. And so, and looking at that, it was like, okay, so it took me into, is like looking at Charles. And now let's look at Myrtle. What did Myrtle have to say on this? So, because Charles, we know Charles and Myrtle, look at the amazing work these two came together and what they've done for awakening a world, awakening everyone. And one of the last things I want to say about Charles is he reminds us in Adam's smashing power that through the quickening of the Spirit, we are loosed from all limiting ideas and are set free in the Christ consciousness or realization of the absolute. And so how do you quicken in the Spirit? And for me, this is where I found Myrtle and what Myrtle does, what Myrtle did. For Myrtle, it's about going into the silence. When you start to go into the silence, you should breathe evenly in the happy feeling that you are taking in great drafts of God's pure, life-sustaining air, which is being used by every cell and blood corpuscle. I'm going to read that again. When you start to go into the silence, you should breathe evenly in the happy feeling that you are taking in great drafts. I love that, just great drafts of God's pure life-sustaining air, which is being used by every cell and blood corpuscle. And take your attention down out of your head and into the organism. We are an organism. We are in a sea of organisms, if you want to really get scientifically correct about it. The flow of blood will follow the attention down into the trunk of the body and into the feet and hands, and thus the forces of being as well as the flow of the bloodstream will be equalized. You should be just as fair to the members of your body as you would be to a neighbor. You wouldn't expect to hold the neighbor's attention on one spot all day long, nor would you expect to demand the neighbor that she do without something that she should have, nor would you burden her with more work than she should do. Now, you are to treat your own members, which are close neighbors, in your body temple with just as much consideration and wisdom and love, giving them the benefit of this quiet time with the divine creator. Now, would that get you out of the daisy wheel of negative thinking about yourself? Would it take you into a place, could it take you into a place where you would discover, here I'm free? This is the place Nelson Mandela went. This is the place John McCain went. This is the place millions, numerous of others go to remind ourselves we are free right here and now. That sound of freedom is your heartbeat. Sound of freedom. It's your air. Breathing in and out of your lungs. That sound of freedom is you. I just loved it how she said, bring yourself down out of your head into the organism. And all our systems that we are, that have us, our spirit, our soul moving through this lifetime until it releases the organism and it goes back into the total oneness. But this is also the way we are in the oneness when we are still in body. And I've been working on that for myself recently because there's some life changes and opportunities offering themselves to me. And there's old monkey mind, old patterns, oh, well, you did this. All of that is wanting to chitter, chat at me. And And I'm watching it. And that's the thing. Can we discover it? It's like, catch it when it's happening. This is on our way to mastery. You know, there's those that are masters walking this planet. But for the majority of us, we master it when we do return to the oneness. But it's a constant journey. For Christ, it was a constant journey. He was in a man's form. Mary, Magdalene, Buddha, all of these were in human form with all the trials, all the tribulations, all the stuff that we face every day ourselves. But this chitter, chat going on, I'm like going, all right, you've got to stop, because as I'm hearing the chitter, chat, Pat, I'm also watching my life pattern. Have you seen and know your life pattern? Who? Own it? Life pattern? We all have a life pattern of what we do, and sometimes it's simple, but sometimes it's like, it's been constant life changing, upheaval. Oh my God. And in this, I'm like, okay, because I've been working on that life pattern now for a while of how to let go of this, because I have to face myself. And through this has been forgiveness practices. And the biggest one, though, was forgiving myself. I had a near-death experience in June of 1989. And when I crashed back down into my body, I heard an angel whisper in my ear, "Wake up." I opened my eyes and I said, "I'm alive." And I started to struggle, and I started the struggle to be alive from there on. Well, that angel's been with me, and very patient angel. They call them angels, yes, exactly, because they're very patient with you. And so I've been working this. And how many of you know that, or experience the fact that what you ask for, when you put it out there in your words and in your mind, that you get it? Okay. Yep. All right. Well, I'd moved back up here in June of 2021, and I kept just saying out loud, little healer woman in the woods. I just want a nice little healer woman in the woods, a little place in the woods. Well, I got it. I got this place that was 900 square feet with one window and trees. And I was in the woods. It was a cave for me to really face it, really face myself. And it was kind of rustic living there. And there was a day that I was just in a, just completely releasing, fed up, whatever. And my angel said to me, "How difficult does it have to get for you to wake up?" Stopped me in my tracks. I woke up. And since then, there's been some manifesting occurring that is grace, is absolute grace. Of the way I was, when it was time, it was like, you got it, time to leave the cave in the woods. I did. I'd also thought about, maybe I'll buy a tiny home in 3 years. Well, I'm now living in a tiny home, but I didn't buy it. So coming into, as I've been walking this, I'm catching myself more and more as I come up with that old stuff, those old, the faces of people that, said limiting things. When I keep coming up with this again and again, I am getting better, and I stop and I release it and I go into forgiveness. But the biggest thing is that self-talk, I am getting so much better at forgiving myself, because as Myrtle has said here, what Charles said about in that 2 hours of forgiving, It sets him free to be in his oneness of being in his organism. And that's what Myrtle is saying. Forgiveness, being able to let go, to be free in this amazing being that we are, that has our very own organism with maybe our eyes look like mom and our body looks like dad or whatever, the genetics that have come through to make this human body that we're walking in, and come in that place of, in the song, I'm free. Or as I woke up on the couch, I'm alive. And that is why is that just so difficult to hang on to. But it is called practice. It is called a practice into the silence, into the inner sanctuary of who we are. That we get better at it. I'm being better to myself. Not getting better. I'm being better. We be better. And with that, I am seeing a path of my life that is opening up, that is, it's I realize it's what I'm meant for to do. And part of that is it's starting right here and now with you all. So, and so we're looking at stop, forgive, stop, think, forgive, ask guidance. But I also think, you mentioned Katy Perry. I want to bring us to the Queen of Soul. The Queen of Soul really had it down in a song that she wrote. And you might recognize these. You better think. Think about what you're trying to do to me. Think. Let your mind go. Let yourself be free. Let's go back. Let's go way back when. I didn't even know you. You couldn't have been too much more than 10, just a child. I ain't no psychiatrist. I ain't no doctor with degrees, but I don't take too much high IQs. So to see what you're doing to me, you better think. Think about what you're trying to do to me. Yeah, think. Let your mind go. Let yourself be free. Oh, freedom, freedom, freedom. Now, who is that? Miss Aretha Franklin. Hey, think about it. Think about it. There ain't nothing you could ask. I could answer you, but I won't. But I was going to change, but I'm not. I was going to change, but I'm not. If you keep doing things I don't, you better think. Think about what you're trying to meet. Oh, Lord, think. Let your mind go. Let yourself be free. People walking around every day playing games, taking scores, trying to make other people lose their minds. Ah, be careful you don't lose yours. Oh, think. Think about what you're trying to do to me. Think. Let your mind go. Let yourself be free. You need me. You need me, and I need you. Don't you know? Without each other, there ain't nothing people can do. Oh, hey, think about it, baby. What are you trying to do to me? Think about forgiveness. Dream about forgiveness. Yeah, think about forgiveness. Think about forgiveness, baby. Think about forgiveness. She had it right there in that song, didn't she? Think about what you're trying to do to me. Oh, think. Freedom, 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 yeah. You want to sing that freedom with me? Freedom, 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 oh yeah, freedom, 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 yeah, you better think. And it is about us thinking. What do we think? And I know we have lessons on this all the time. So this is one more lesson about where's my mind? What am I thinking about? Because I'm free right here and now. Nelson Mandela could do it. John McCain could do it. There's women that have been in prison can do it. There's people that are imprisoned in lives that we have no idea
But they find a way and they're free. There's women that are in brutal domestic violence situations, or there's women that are imprisoned in different forms of imprisonment. So it isn't just man, it isn't just woman. We have the ability within us to set ourselves free every single day because you're worth it and you deserve it. So, can we just do freedom one more time? Was that fun? Okay. So, think about what you're trying to do. Me, yeah, think. Oh, yeah, baby, you just think. So, freedom. Oh, come on. Think about what you're trying to do to me. Oh, freedom. 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 Oh, freedom. 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 Sounds of freedom are right there sounding inside you. And thank you all so much for having me here and letting me just give my perspective on what the sounds of freedom are. Thank you. Namaste.